Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode of Cookiecast. Today I sat down with James Keep. We had a great conversation. It was really enjoyable to sort of have more of a conversation about stuff rather than just me ask a series of fairly standard questions. We really got into some very interesting issues, and as is often the case at the moment, this was a good length and was able to be another two-parter. So this is part one of my conversation with James Keep. We've got the usual podcast, TV, movie kind of conversation. And then tune in later for part two of my chat with James Keep. Okay, podcast time. Let's go. James Keep.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. Same as always. Chilling out.
Wonderful.
Living the dream.
So there's this little thing that I've been doing to people. It's a little unfair, but it's one of those. I let people look at the questions that I'm going to ask, and then I start to relax people so they know what's coming and things like that. And then I ask them a question that's not on the list of questions to sort of put them off a bit. So your question, your first random question is, where were you born?
Oh, easy. Wales. Aberystwyth.
Wales?
Yeah.
Do you know any Welsh?
No.
Huh,
Why would I? I was only born there. I don't know any Welsh.
How long were you in Wales?
Till about the age of 2, I'd say. The old man was in the army, so he was stationed at a place called Towyn, which is now a holiday camp for caravanettes, as far as I'm aware.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bit of a change.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've asked a lot of people to come and do the podcast, and some people reluctantly said yes, and some people jumped at the chance, and then you've got the people in the middle that are like, yeah, all right. But I have been asking people, have you ever heard of what a podcast is? Have you ever heard a podcast? Do you listen to a podcast?
Yeah, actually, at the moment I'm listening to a podcast about a guy that was in the army, and he was a US soldier and he was stationed in Afghanistan, and he quit being a soldier and just walked off the camp and then got kidnapped by the Taliban. And it took them like 5.5 years to get him back.
Wow. So
now he's back in America and he's on trial. And the trial is whether he should be court-martialed and all that stuff, because obviously he just left his post, and Americans spent millions of dollars trying to get him back. So yeah, it's quite a good podcast. And the one before that I listened to was about criminal profiling in the FBI.
Wow.
So it's also quite cool. So yeah, I do listen to them occasionally.
So you are a podcast listener, because like some people, the start of their podcast has been, do you listen to podcasts? Do you know what a podcast is? No. Okay, let me explain what a podcast is.
Yeah, it's still surprisingly little people use them because they're pretty good. I mean, they're cool sources of entertainment.
I'm quite amazed by almost like the generosity of people that turn up and go, I'm here to do your podcast. I have no idea what it is, but I'm here to do it. And I'm like, that's very kind of you. I'll explain what a podcast is. So I can skip the explaining to you what a podcast is, because you know.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, cool. So, don't have to do the podcast explanation, which is always fun.
I mean, you can still do it if you want to do it.
So a podcast. Right. So straight into what are you watching now? What I always do this when I say what are people watching on TV, and then I have to say I understand that TV doesn't really exist in this world anymore. Most people, when you say TV now, it's like Netflix, Amazon, some kind of streaming service.
Yeah.
I appreciate that people do watch television, terrestrial TV, but when I say TV, it's supposed to cover all of that. So what are you watching at the moment?
What am I watching at the moment? Right now, Preacher season 2.
Yeah.
And
how are you finding that?
To be honest, the first season it took me a while to get into it, but by the end of the season I liked it.
Yep.
And I quite like the second season. I feel the second season's better. There's a bit more going on. I don't know, it was just weird. I don't know what I was expecting, because I know that Preacher's a comic.
Yeah.
And I've flicked through a couple of them before in the past. But yeah, it was okay. It took a while to get used to it, but it's good now. It's going along nicely. I'm about halfway through season 2. So
I read all of Preacher. Not originally. I read it more recently. And then I watched the series, and I watched the first series, and very much like what you're saying there, that first series where you're like, I'm not really sure what's going on, I'm not really sure if I like it, I don't. And then by the end, I was like, yeah, cool, I'm looking forward to the second series. I don't know, the second series felt like the first series felt like I just spent that whole time going, what's really happening here and what's going on? And a couple of the castings in that show are really good, and a couple of them are not.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that, actually. Yeah, that's true. Well, there are lots of like small characters that they don't really do that much. So you would expect those characters to be powerful actors that can really bring it to the screen, and they don't, so you kind of forget who that little character was, but they seem to be instrumental to the actual storyline. Yeah, there's a lot of that throughout. You're like, are you going to come in it later? Are you going to be back at some point, or is that you done? There was like people that got killed off, and like end of the first series, and they killed people. It's like, without giving away a massive spoiler.
Yeah. Oh no! Tom had a go at me today for missing out spoilers in one of the previous podcasts. I was like, I do try, but sometimes I just missed the clue for the spoiler. Yeah, if you haven't seen series 1 of Preacher, spoiler alert. I'll cut that out and then just paste it at the beginning. So for you, what's been the most binge-worthy TV recently?
Recently, as in this year, or just generally in the last 6 months?
Either. Dealer's choice. You tell me what's...
Okay, let's think. What did I really rinse? Well, I really liked the first season of Sense8 on Netflix. I binged that, but that's like a year ago.
Right.
So then after that, American Gods. That was good.
Another Prime original.
Yeah, American Gods was good. That was again unexpected, super bizarre, way out there, up there with Preacher in the weird factor.
Yeah. But
good acting, and I know the main guy, so I used to go to school with my brother.
Oh wow!
So I felt I was obligated to watch it.
Nice. I watched American Gods. Spent very much like Preacher. Spent the time going, I don't know what's happening. Am I supposed to know what's happening by now? What is happening? Got to the end of the series and went, I don't know how I feel about it. Should I know what happened? And
yeah, I mean, it wasn't very clear. So I think that's part of its charm.
I decided the best thing to do was to get the book. So the book is like it's like a big thick book, and I read it from start to finish and got to the end and went, that it's a really good book. It's not, you don't really understand like as much as the series in that sense that you're reading it going, am I supposed to be understanding? It does wrap up quite nicely in the book. There's some stuff in the book that wasn't in the series, but when you read it in the book, you're like, I've no idea how they would have put that in the series.
Yeah, I can imagine. But then that's often the case.
There is a big chunk in the book that I'll be very interested to see how they're going to do it in the series, and if they've got any viewers left by the end of it, because it's this weird sort of thing where it's like, okay, now we're doing this, are we?
Well, I've found that recently TV series have certainly been getting weirder.
Yeah.
And they seem to be doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's because the general public is just different and more open because they don't want the simple black and white characters.
Yeah.
Or if it's just the company's taking a gamble and it just happens to have paid off.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. I know that Neil Gaiman has actually taken over the series for Series 2. I think some of the people that were doing the series left, and they've offered it to him, and he's now picked that up. But I know that they're also doing a series of Good Omens, which I think he's quite heavily involved in as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what season 2 looks like.
Yeah.
So from TV to movies.
Yeah. What did I watch recently? What was good? I'm trying to think of the things that stand out because I've watched most things. but there isn't anything that particularly stands out this year. Well, Blade Runner. Actually, I really enjoyed Blade Runner.
See, I have this thing with Blade Runner where I never liked the original. I really struggled with the original, and I know the review of the second one is... I've had so many different reviews. One was, oh, if you didn't like the original, then this is the Blade Runner for you. I know that people are like, oh man, it's really long. It's like,
I think once you start... I mean, firstly, it is a Blade Runner film, and obviously Harrison Ford is in it, but I wouldn't compare it to the first one, because although there are definite aspects of Blade Runner, because that's what it is in it, it's just a different film. It's good just because of the cinematography, the way it's shot, the colours, the sheer size of it. I don't know how that's going to come across on a TV, but at the cinema it was awesome. It had really good sound and really, really good on the big screen. Right. It's one of those films that's made for cinema. And I think that does it justice. Now, how that's going to look on the small screen, it might not come off as well. It is a long film, but and it recently won an Oscar award for its cinematography, so I would definitely stand by what I've just said.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Other than that, this films recently, it's a bit shat, really. There's loads of Marvel stuff, but they're all pretty good because it's Marvel. So you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah, to be fair, they do what they do very well.
Yeah.
We recently watched Ragnarok.
Yeah, that was cool. It's funny.
Yeah, funny. Enjoyable.
It was good. Yeah. I think cinema again is hit and miss. You go through phases where you get 6 or 7 good films in a row, then you get this low patch of nothing. One awesome film comes out in the summer, then you get nothing, and then Christmas there'll be something interesting. But this year it's a mixed bag. Got obviously Infinity War coming out, which looks cool. There's the next Harry Potter story, or rather the
Fantastic Beasts.
The Fantastic Beasts thing, which looks quite good.
Griswold.
I think Marvel is going to dominate again over the summer.
Yeah, they just, like I say, they just do what they do very well.
Yeah,
and you know, I know that DC have struggled.
DC have died a death
so badly. I mean, I've got Justice League over there, and I haven't watched it yet.
I think DC need to scrap their entire plan and start again. It's not because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the new Superman and the new Batman, and the actors that play them are fine. I liked Wonder Woman and all that stuff. I just think that they're trying to copy Marvel and they just haven't been able to pull it off, whether it's down to poor directing or bad story writing. It just doesn't work. And it's a shame because DC, as a rule, is a better comic. It's darker, it's more adult, and you could do a lot more with it, but they never seem to get it right. Batman is, apart from Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, they're probably the only 2 DC films that really stand out. The rest are just poor.
You see, have you ever seen any of the DC animation stuff? Any of the animated movies?
Only Batman.
One thing that DC do really, really well, and is a massive business for them, is their animation side. They release DC animated movies pretty much on a monthly basis.
Right.
And there's a new one coming out, Batman Ninja or something.
Right.
Batman and Batman, Robin, Nightwing, and possibly Batgirl maybe get sent through time to feudal Japan.
Right.
And they have to fight
cool.
a samurai version of the Joker, and it looks really good. It's a really interesting take on it, and I'd seen a review of it the other day, and it was reviewed at I think it was 9.7 out of 10 or something.
Wow.
And it was just saying that it's just fantastic. And the DC animated movies do really well. The animated TV series do really well.
So why can't they just put what they take in that animated stuff and put that into a film?
And that's the thing.
Why can't they do that?
This team of people that make all of them just do, all they do as a living is make these animated movies. And they do it really well. And they do these really good stories. The animation's great. They change the animation up every sort of so many films and stuff. They're not afraid to try new things. And they're all really good. So why can't they just transpose that over to the film market? And to be fair, I'm pretty sure that one of the guys that's been doing a lot of the comics and the animated stuff has moved over to the DC film side of things. But I don't Oh, I mean, Justice
Well,
League.
he's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, Justice League was the lowest.
Because to save it, they've got a lot of work to do.
Justice League was the lowest grossing DC film so far.
Yeah, I think that was gonna kill whatever plan they had, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, they're already on with Wonder Woman 2.
But Wonder Woman did well.
Get a Flash standalone film off the ground at all. They just keep running this. Oh, we're doing a rewrite. We've done another rewrite. We've got a different director. We've got another rewrite. And they've just rewritten that story so many times that eventually somebody's going to say, let's just not bother.
Yeah.
Presumably they'll do an Aquaman. Jason Momoa.
Yeah, isn't it the guy that was from Game of Thrones?
I'm pretty sure I'd seen something that he was going to do a standalone Aquaman.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a weird character, Aquaman. He's cool in Justice League. I don't know, he's a weird character. I remember watching Smallville, and back in the day when they started making their Justice League in Smallville, Aquaman had a standalone episode. Yep. And then he appeared in a couple of episodes with Justice League, and there was supposed to be an Aquaman series. They did a pilot, and it just failed miserably. So,
I think,
is that likely to do the same thing? I don't know. I mean, I'm as much as I've got hope for DC. I think their time is done for the moment. I think Marvel have taken up all the space, and people are comparing it to that.
They really need to do something. They need to inject something into that DC cinematic universe that actually generate something, because at the moment they're just limping along.
Yeah, they are.
And Marvel just at this point in time, Marvel could literally release anything and people will A, go and see it, B, say that it's the greatest film ever, C, throw billions of dollars.
Yeah, well, Black Panther took 270 million in its opening weekend or something, but it's the biggest grossing Marvel film for a weekend or something. Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff.
Which is nice to see. So a question I ask people, and it's been up for debate recently whether it's even possible to answer this question. If you had to pick 3 favourite films, and I'll say at this point in time, working from 3 all the way up to 1, what would they be? Okay,
well, my number 3 would be Bad Boys.
Bad Boys.
I love that film.
Such a good film.
I love that film. It's early Will Smith, Martin Lawrence before he was a douche. Yeah, really cool. Good film. Nice action. Good colours. Cool villain. French villain instead of an English villain. So I like that. Good cars at the end. Good cars all throughout. Some funny moments. It's just a good all-round film. It's a decent action film. It's 90s, but it's not aged pretty badly. I mean, it still looks pretty good if you watch it on DVD. It still makes me laugh. So yeah, that's definitely
that's a good little choice. I like that. That's a good choice. Mostly because I was a massive Bad Boys fan when it came out.
I think it's great. I can recite that whole beginning scene, so I think that's really cool.
I used to own it. I bought Bad Boys on. Do you remember when video shops were a thing?
Yeah.
And they used to do X rentals, so you could buy a film that had been watched like 400 times and just didn't play and stuff. And I bought Bad Boys as an X rental.
Well, when Bad Boys came out, I was working at the Hilton Hotel in Newbury, and it was one of the films that was on the pay-per-view in the hotel. And we all used to copy the films because we're not pirates or anything. So I had a really good copy of Bad Boys and passed it around to all my mates. And obviously it came out around the same time as it was released at the cinema, because that's what we did. And we just loved that film. We went back and watched it again and again and again.
Great movie.
So yeah, good film. So that's number 3.
So you started out strong. Number 3, Bad Boys. Okay.
Number 2 is probably going to be The Crow.
The Crow.
I think The Crow is another timeless movie. Good film, regardless of the fact that Brandon Lee died. It's just a good film. It's dark, it's moody, the villains are cool, the central characters are cool. Everyone wants to look like him at Halloween. Why would you not? The street villains have got cool names like Tintin and Teabag and whatever. I think that's.
I can really never remember the name of the guy that plays the full blown villain in that film, but he has the most.
Is he T-Bone?
He has the most amazing voice.
Yeah.
That gravelly voice. He was in Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
And he just has that amazing voice, and he's just like, wow.
I think he's T-Dog. You got T-Dog, Tintin, Funboy, and Skank. I'm pretty sure he's and it was a good film. It's a really good film.
It's a great film.
Considering they made some abysmal sequels.
What are your feelings about the fact that I heard that they were remaking, rebooting? What are they called these days? Remakes, reboots?
Yeah, well, this is I think it's a reboot. I'm undecided. I mean, I don't know why we insist on keep remaking films. We haven't remade Casablanca and Gone with the Wind and A Bridge Too Far. Why would you do it?
Because there's no original ideas left.
Yeah, I mean, it's like RoboCop. I watched the new RoboCop, and I really like the original RoboCop, and the new one's all right, but the original one's better because it just is.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't aged. It still looks cool, apart from the poor Ed 209 CGI graphics in the original.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's good. The actual RoboCop guy's cool. Why would you redo it? And the same with The Crow. I'm not sure why you want to redo it, because pretty much anyone who's going to watch it probably has seen the original anyway. Like, why do it? I don't know.
It's that thing with all these remakes and stuff that really you're never going to do it better. Nobody's ever going to watch something and go, "Oh, that was better than the original."
Yeah, I can't think of a time when that's ever happened.
No, it's.
I don't know. I know they do it obviously to make money, and you take a formula that you know works. So I suppose you're guaranteed to get your money back, and you want to open it to perhaps a generation of people that have never heard of it, which is possible. But I would say that anybody that is into their cinema and their films has probably seen the original. So, I mean, we'll all go and watch a remake, no doubt. But I'd probably be sitting there going, it's all right, but...
I struggle with remakes in general in the sense that there is that aspect of I've seen the original, why do I need to see something that's not going to be as good? Admittedly, I have watched and do own a couple of remakes. I watched the Total Recall reboot.
Yeah,
remake.
The reboot of that.
Nowhere near as good as the original. Not the worst film ever made.
I always find that they've got some cool aspects. Like with the Total Recall, the fact that we've got better technology makes the surroundings better. Yeah. So the special effects are better, but the actual film isn't. Yeah. The film is that you watch the film and you go, okay, it was Total Recall. And I still think that if you go back to the Schwarzenegger version, you go, well, that was a bit more interesting. And the reason it was more interesting was because Schwarzenegger was in it.
Yeah.
And at the time, that's what we wanted. Now, obviously, perhaps people don't want that now. I wouldn't have said they wanted Colin Farrell, but that's what they got.
I mean, they don't want... we don't do the muscle-bound superhero or action hero anymore. We do... Nobody wants to see the muscles, your Stallones, your Schwarzeneggers.
No, that's true.
Nobody's really that interested. I suppose The Rock's making a big...
Yeah, I mean, you've always got The Rock and Vin Diesel and people like that kind of hanging around. But it's true that the only reason we watch things like... what's the film with them all in, with Schwarzenegger and Stallone?
Expendables.
Yeah, see, we watch that because it's tongue-in-cheek and it's a bit of a piss take, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Because they're taking the piss out of those guys. Out of those guys and the films they made in the 80s and 90s. And I think that is what the charm is, but it's true that, we don't have the muscle-bound figures. There's no kickboxer and all those things are gone.
I think Expendables shows that we do kind of still want it, because I think there was that aspect that when it was announced, people were like, oh, God, but I'm still going to go and watch it.
and then 3 films later, and they're still in the process of making a 4th, I think.
Yeah, I think it was that kind of, oh, man, I can't believe they've done another one. I mean, I'm probably going to watch it, but I can't believe they made another one.
That's very true. And it was funny.
And it's quite good. And that action, it's that kind of mentality. I was talking the other day about how there is certain times when you need a film that you can put on the screen and turn the brain off.
Yeah.
And those, and Expendables came up in that conversation.
Yeah.
There is a time and a place for a film that you don't have to think about.
Yeah, normally after a few beers, getting home and like, oh, what shall I watch? Oh, Expendables is on.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. I always used to go with Predator 2.
Yeah, that's an underrated film.
Because Predator 2 is it's a great film, but it's a great example of really bad casting.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's just like
everything about it's great.
The film's great, but the casting's awful. I've read the book of Predator 2, and in the book, the character, the main character, is supposed to be Arnie's brother,
right,
from the first one, and has been told the story of the Predator by Arnie.
Not sure Danny Glover fits.
He's supposed to be bigger than Arnie. He's supposed to be bigger than Dutch, muscle, and all that. And it's like, so we got Danny Glover, and it's like, I'm not sure. And it was the realisation of, why does Danny Glover talk to himself all the way through that film?
Yeah, and even then he was too old for this shit.
Yeah, it's because Mel Gibson isn't there. Because he's got no rigs to talk to all the way through it. He just spends the whole time talking as if Mel Gibson should be there. And it was that realisation. There are certain things that I realised about that film that I now can't go back and watch it normally. Because I'm like, where's Riggs?
Speaking of that, I recently watched the TV series of Lethal Weapon that was on Prime.
How's that?
It's not too bad, actually. It took me a while to get into it.
Yeah.
But only because I'm so used to the films that I was like, do I want to see a new Riggs and Murtaugh? Works really well. Funny.
Really?
Murtaugh, very funny. Yeah.
Is he still too old for the shit?
No. The guy's a lot cooler. I mean, they haven't said that yet in the series. But
wow.
It obviously delves a lot deeper into Riggs' past. So that's really cool. And you get to see a lot more of Murtaugh's family life as well, but in a good way. I mean, it's cheesy, but it's a good fun watch.
Which kind of brings us back to what we were saying about sometimes you just need to turn the brain off.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3, 2...
1 is going to be Inception.
Inception.
With Leonardo DiCaprio. Where he's kind of in the dream.
That is
a cool film.
That's a good choice.
That was really unexpected. When I went to see it, I was like, don't know really what to expect. The trailer was cool.
Yep.
And when I watched it, I was just like, wow.
So,
blown away by it.
I had the same experience. I had that. The trailer looked good. Didn't really know too much about it. Watched it and was just like, that's freaking brilliant, that film.
Yeah, really good film.
There is something in that film very early on that could make that film. It stands out so much, and it's probably the smallest thing in that film. When at the beginning, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Inception.
If you haven't seen Inception, shame on you.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Inception.
You deserve to be spoiled.
Yeah. So, early on, when he's going through, like, they've had the meeting at the beginning, and then he's going through it's not like a manor, like a mansion type thing, and he's killing all the guys, and he's got the silenced pistol. He catches the shell casings when they're discharged from the gun, so that the sound of the shell casing doesn't make a sound, like when it hits the floor and stuff. And the attention to detail in that bit alone is just amazing.
It's just a great film.
It is just a great film. I actually saw it recently, which was one of those. I had a conversation with I think with Leanne saying, "Oh, I should watch Inception. Great film, blah 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 blah." And then I think I was at my sister's and it was on. Like, this was like 2 days later, and I was like, "Oh my god, I so much to watch it," and just sat and watched it, and it's just such a great film.
Yeah, it is.
Really watchable movie. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is just fantastic.
Yeah, well, that was when I kind of really saw him for the first time.
I think that launched him for a lot of people because I don't think anybody would really take
the Matrix style fight that he was doing in the hotel that was twisting around.
And the great thing about it is it's a Chris Nolan film, and Chris Nolan hates CG.
Yeah.
If he can do it, he'll do it.
Yeah,
the scene where everything's exploding and they're just sat at the table at the cafe and everything is exploding around them. And he was like, I don't want to use CG. And everyone was like, what? And he's like, there must be some other way. And they just used air cannons.
Yeah.
And they just use air cannons to fire things into the air to make it look
so
like things
cool. It's really, really good.
And to do the scene where they're fighting and the walls are turning around and over and stuff, they just built that corridor and then had them turning round in it. And it's like, yeah, why not? But yeah, there are some amazing scenes in that. It's like Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy's in that film, but you kind of there's points where you kind of forget he's in it. Yeah. And to say that he's in it and the character he plays is really understated, it's really laid back, it's really that sort of. that calm and casual, slowly spoken, softly and all that you almost forget he's in it.
True.
And then somebody says, "Oh, Tom Hardy's in that."
Yeah, that's
and it's
true.
that. Oh yeah, that pause, like you literally just did.
Yeah, because I was just
so yeah, great movie. So those are 3 fantastic choices. I commend you on your top 3 movies. When you come back next time, I'll ask you again and see if I could just say, are they still your top 3 movies?
They've been the top 3 for quite a while now.
I didn't say they're not like the freshest.
No, they're not. I've got other films I like. Definitely, there's a top 10, and there's probably because Blade Runner would be the new Blade Runner is quite close behind. But obviously the things like Star Wars and stuff. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I like the original Avengers and that kind of stuff is in there. But the 3 that I've given are 3 films where I really was like, they either mean something because they remind me of some cool moments, or I was just blown away when I first watched them, and I was just like, wow, these are just really good films for different reasons. They're not the best directed or the best acted, they're just cool films.
I mean, this is it. You don't have to have the best film. I once said to somebody, "Oh, what's your favourite film?" And immediately they were like, "Oh, The Dark Knight." And I was like, "But is it?" "Yeah, it's the best film ever made." And I was like, "But is it your favourite film? Is it the best film for you? Or are you just saying that because it's rated as one of the best films ever made?" No, it's the best film ever made.
Because Dark Knight, I put Dark Knight probably in my top 10 as well, because it is a good film.
It's a great movie.
It's a really good film. It's got loads of elements I like, but it doesn't top my top 3. Just doesn't get in there. It's not even close. It's going to be in the top 10. Probably number 9.
That's fair. That's a fair assessment. I say that you can have... I think there are a couple of films out there, a handful of films out there that I would describe as the perfect film.
Yeah.
Not the best, the perfect movie. It's got a little... Like somebody's made a concoction and they've put a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of that, and just the right amount of each individual element that you need to make a film. And they get every single one of those bits right. It's like the right amount of each that makes the perfect film.
And obviously it's subject to your opinion.
Yeah, so. Not necessarily the best film, but the perfect film.
Agreed.
So you're a TV fan, a movie fan, but you're also you're I don't know, in the movies in that.
I like to dabble, I have to say. I did a short series on YouTube called Midnight Dawn. It was basically a friend of mine down south. He likes to write stuff, so he had this story in mind, and we were like, "Oh, I should just film it. It'll be a laugh." And this was when I was living in Luxembourg, and I had quite a lot of friends that spoke different languages, and they all spoke a bit of English, and we had time. So I was like, yeah, let's just whack something together. So got out the old iPhone, which at the time I think was an iPhone 5 was what I had, and a microphone that I used for when I was in a band, and we stuck that on a broom and just sellotaped it. So that was our boom mic, and then we just made a TV series. And I think it's 8 episodes. They're about 15 minutes long each. And some of the episodes are cool. The problem is when I watch it, I know all the mistakes, so I watch it and go, "Oh, it's terrible." But awful. Interestingly, I was watching it on the train back the other night, and it's definitely grown on me. And there's some moments in it which are really great, and there's some terrible moments. The sound was the biggest problem. But yeah, I'm working on a new project. And this time I want some actual money. So can
you tell us anything about the new project?
It's what's it going to be? So it's basically the story is of a guy who's a bit like Constantine in that he's got magical power, but just doesn't really want to use it. But events conspire that he kind of has to use it. So he partners up with a private detective, and they try to solve various crimes that lead him into the realm of the supernatural. And then it kind of opens out into this ginormous conspiracy. My mate's written like 10 seasons worth of material, so theoretically it could be awesome. But what we're going to try and do is make a really good trailer, and then use the trailer to try and get some money from Kickstarter, and hopefully we can do some
crowdfunding going.
Because although the Midnight Dawn was okay, I didn't spend any money on it at all. It was just time I had. I used my iMac and made my sound effects, and I did the music and all that stuff myself, apart from the stuff that I stole. and we just put on it without asking. But it seems to be okay. Nobody's sued me yet. There was one band we asked if we could use their music, and they were like, "Yeah, man." So that was cool. I think the stuff that you can't listen to, YouTube seemed to just block the sound, so that's not a major issue. There's subtitles, so that's okay. But yeah, this time we want to do it properly, and that requires a bit of pennies, especially for the sound.
Yeah.
The filming itself is fairly easy because I've watched so many films. I know what I want, and I know where I want to be and how I want it to look. But the sound I can't do anything about. I need an actual team that are going to give me the quality that I need. And if you can have the best screen time ever, but if the sound is rubbish, people are just going to be like, ugh, what is this? And it detracts fully from what's going on. And that's what I find with Midnight Dawn is you just listen to it and you go, oh, it's horrible.
I went to the cinema a good few years ago now to watch. It was Halloween, and I went to watch American Werewolf in London, which is one of my favourite films. Although
yeah, it's a good film.
I'd probably say that about 100 movies. It's one of my favourites. And it was like this sort of threefold thing. It was Halloween. They were showing it. I loved it. But it was the first digital showing. So they transformed it from film to digital. And it was the first time it was being shown in the cinemas in a digital format. And I went to watch it, and the picture quality was amazing. But you pretty much couldn't hear it. It's like they hadn't got the sound quality right, and they needed to turn it the fuck up. But it was one of those really sort of like, oh man, this looks amazing, but I can't hear it.
Yeah, for Midnight Dawn, that's the biggest issue. If anybody could be bothered to look on YouTube, type Midnight Dawn, it's in there somewhere. You'll just watch it without the sound.
Turn the sound off.
It'll be a much more pleasant experience. Just put your own soundtrack on and
sing
watch it without the sound. Yeah, but,
put Dark Side of the Moon on.
It's the same because there are some cool tracks on there as well. We had some pretty good music choices and it was fun, but ultimately it needed cash to make it what it could be.
But I mean, I suppose as a project, by the sounds of it, you got a lot out of it that you probably wanted. You got to do it. You said it was fun to do.
Yeah. You
got the opportunity to try a lot of different things, and ultimately, you know exactly what you want and don't want from your next project.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. Yeah.
So to me, I don't think you can ask much more of that. I mean, I know what you're saying about sound. I've been battling the sound issue to like doing the podcast, and I just kept throwing more and more money at it, and it wasn't getting any better. And a mate had given me a microphone, and I'd got a headset, and that wasn't doing it. So then I needed adapters for the microphone and the headset, and that wasn't doing it. Then I bought a mixer, that wasn't doing it. I needed a cable for the mixer to get it out, and it still wasn't work, and I couldn't work out. And then it was like, well, this won't work with this, and that won't work with that. And then in the end, my mate was like, look, there's a microphone there. It's £20. It's USB. Buy that, worry about the rest later. And I was like, will that do the job? Yes, that'll do the job. Sold. So, I mean, I bought this, and then...
This, he means it's like a little microphone standing on a little table.
Yeah, little microphone on a little stand. It came with the stand. It's on a table. And the same friend has showed me how to clean up audio using the tool that we're using here to record, and the different methods to make it a cleaner sound, a better sound, remove any background noise, kittens purring and wrecking the house and stuff like that. So, I mean, sound is very important. I like to say that going to see American Werewolf really stands out for me because of that experience of, oh my God, it looks amazing, but I can't hear it.
Yeah, we always, when we were even watching stuff on Netflix, often you watch it and you'll get a soundtrack super loud, and then they'll come on and speak and you can hear nothing. And you're just like, always playing with the volume, switching it up, switching it down. And we've got really good sound system at home, and you still get that. So even the pros screw it up.
Especially late at night.
Yeah.
You want that constant sound of, you want to be able to hear it, but when an explosion comes on, you don't want to blow your eardrums out. And I remember, we used to have a TV in the bedroom at the old house, and so Leanne would be asleep, and I'd be watching TV, and I'd just hold the remote, and I'd be like, oh, something's going to happen, okay, and I'd turn it down, Then when all the action had stopped, I then turn up. Okay, now I can hear it again. And it was just this, the batteries that you went through on the remotes, because it was just like, turn it down.
Yeah.
So there you go. What do you think of that? Part 1 of my sit down with James Keep. This is usually the point where I'd sort of be telling you to go and hit up the various media things, Facebook, Twitter, email, Instagram. Hey, Instagram has got pictures on now, so go and check those out. Some wonderful pictures on there of the wonderful guests that we've had. I was thinking the other day, I wish I had a place where I could store all of my contact information for the podcast, like, I don't know, a website. And it was at that point I remembered that I already have a website and should have been using the website rather than trying to remember all the various different media things. So if you go to thecookiecast.com, on there is all of the contact information that you need to be able to contact us. There's even a form on there so you can send us an email straight off the bat. Jump on there, get whichever preferred method of contact you want, and send us some kind of information around what you're thinking of the podcast so far. Let us know what you think. We'll try and keep putting out good podcasts for you guys to listen to. So that's thecookiecast.com. Check it out.